The October season for Marvel Snap has been officially announced. It is Bloodstone. It's got a spooky theme to it, and I absolutely love it. Guys, I'm a huge fan of Halloween, the fall season. October is my birthday month. Let's go, Snap subscribe. But here we have the season pass and some of the cosmetics that you can get, and I think they're so good. They're crushing it lately. This Ghost Rider variant might be like top 3 Ghost Rider variants for me. There's so many good ones, but this one just looks epic. The Elsa one looks fantastic. The Blade look amazing. And the card backs, oh my gosh, look at that Ghost Rider card back. I love it. So amazing on top of all the value that you get. And of course, Elsa Bloodstone herself. Now we're going to get to that card in a second, but there are 5 cards, guys. 5 cards we have star ratings to provide with. And there's some spicy takes, I think, in this video, as well as 2 locations that we got to cover. So let's start with the season pass card, Elsa Bloodstone. All right, here is Elsa Bloodstone, a 2/2. If you play another card to fill a location, give it +3 power. Guys, this card is cracked, okay? Anytime there's been a card in the past that has given +3 power, like look at Silver Surfer, right? He actually used to give +3 and he had 0 on his body, okay? Now he's been nerfed to have 2 power on his body. He's a 3/2, and then he gives +2 to all your 3 costs. And then another one example is Hitmonkey. Hitmonkey used to get +3 power per card you played on his turn. Now it's +2. I think the same thing's going to happen to Elsa, if I'm being honest. I think she's going to end up as a 2/3 that gives +2 power to any card that fills a location. Now, filling a location, it happens naturally. That's why this card is so good. You're just doing what you already wanted to do, playing cards in Marvel Snap, filling locations to maximize your power output. So Elsa's just giving you power for doing that, playing into a strategy that you already kind of wanted to do, most decks anyways. On top of that, there's cards that synergize so beautifully with Elsa. For instance, Kitty Pryde. Insane, okay? I know she was just recently nerfed and lost her 2 power, but when we play her in the 4th quadrant of a location, she is going to get 3 power from Elsa's effect, and then she's going to get +1 from her own and bounce back to her hand. That's 4 power for 1 cost that we can do repeatedly, 8, 12, depending on however many turns. Now, it's probably not going to be too many turns, but that does not matter. Elsa Bloodstone, think about 2 costs and what's a good power output for the 2 costs, right? You're probably thinking, oh, I don't know, 4, 5 with like Lizard, but he has a bad downside and stuff like that. Well, Elsa so easily gets to 5 power. It's just 1 activation of her ability, something that you're already planning on doing, playing 4 cards in a location. So it just seems so easy to get this to being a value of, oh, I don't know, like 8 power, 11, 14. The sky's the limit with this card, okay? There's so much power that can be put. If all your locations have 3 cards with them and they're missing 1 empty spot, you play Mysterio on turn 6, they're all played cards. They're all going to get the +3 power from Elsa's effect. It's insane. That's 9 power plus the 4 of Mysterio. That's a 13 power play for 2 energy. That's insane, okay? Now, it's maybe a bit difficult to navigate that, set that situation up, but the potential is there. When you run a bounce list and you're playing a bunch of cards, it can happen. But there's some things that don't work, okay? So like Broodlings, right? So you play Brood and the Broodlings fill the location. They will not get the +3 power. As same as if you use Arnim Zola to copy 2 cards and fill the locations, the copies are not going to get the power. Maybe Arnim if you end up playing him as the 4th card at a location, but not the copies he spawns. Same with Ultron and the drones. These sorts of things are not going to work with Elsa Bloodstone. But what will work is movement cards. Play your Jeff there, a 2/6 Jeff that you can move off, play something else to fill that location, and then get more power on that card. So we can play Jeff, get 6, move him over, play Nightcrawler, get to 5, move him over, play Vision, get him to 11, move him over. We're just generating power nonstop, turn after turn after turn. It's insane. And we just move those cards around, works with Miles Morales, sets up maybe a Spider-Man, another one you can do, move the card off, get the +3 power from Elsa. Oh my gosh, the potential here is insane. I see this card being fantastic and jumping right into some tier 1 decks. Again, I could have gave it 5 stars, but I'm giving it 4. And here we go. We got to get to the next card. Next up is Man-Thing, a 4/5 ongoing 1, 2, and 3 cost cards here have -2 power. The biggest thing to note here is that this is a reciprocal effect. So your cards, your 1, 2, and 3 cost cards at that location are going to get the -2 power, as well as your opponents. So a really good card to combo Man-Thing with is Luke Cage. because then you don't have to worry about the downside happening to your side of the board. He's going to negate that negative power. Don't have to worry about it. But the problem is, the reason I'm giving it 3 stars is because your opponent can do the same thing. And then Man-Thing's just a 4/5, which isn't so great, right? Maybe we have Zabu out there and this becomes a 3/5, but even then, I'm not too excited about it in that aspect. If we get counters, there's things like Enchantress that's pretty popular. And, you know, whenever certain ongoing cards are popular, Enchantress pops up, ruins this card. So you got to watch out for those counters. But if we were to just look in a normal situation and take the negative power that Man-Thing applies and add that to its power total, you're hitting like 2 cards. That's 4 power. This is like a 4/9. That's really good value. And you're hammering home a location. It's a big swing. So I really like the potential with Man-Thing. But the reason I'm giving it 3 stars is because of the counters, but also because your opponent can just totally ignore this and play something that's a 4, 5, or 6 cost card that probably has more power than the Man-Thing, and then you just outright lose that location, and it didn't really help you all that much, and it probably cost too much energy and ruined your curve. That's where I'm a little bit nervous, but the junk deck seems so much fun. That's why I'll tell you right now, I am picking up the Man-Thing. Not to mention it's a Series 4 release. This is going to only cost 3,000 tokens, which is pretty juicy. I like that aspect about this card, but it just seems really fun. I love those junk decks, the slap decks, all that fun stuff where you're just giving over Viper over a Hood or Debris, those rocks over, sending over a Goblin. All those cards I just mentioned are going to work with the Man-Thing's effect, which is going to be a lot of fun. And then maybe you lock it in with a Professor X play just to make sure that they don't do anything on turn 6. Who knows? I like this card a lot. I just don't think it's going to be the strongest. That's why I'm leaning towards the 3-star rating, because if you are looking to save up for certain cards here during this month, I think there is one card that stands head and shoulders above the rest, and it's more expensive. It's a Series 5 release. So if you have the available tokens and the spotlight caches and whatnot, this is going to be a really fun pickup, but let's get to the next card. All right, everybody, we got to talk about the Black Knight, okay? I think a lot of people are extremely hyped up for the Black Knight, and I'm starting to see why. I'm starting to buy into it a little bit, but at the same time, there's something about this card that I just don't love, okay? It might be because there's already this combo that kind of exists, and this is just adding to it. It doesn't feel that innovative. It doesn't feel that different. Maybe it's that, or maybe it's just the line of play, the draws that have to happen that I don't love. But let's just talk about it. Black Knight 1/2. After you discard a card, add the Ebony Blade to your hand with that card's power once per game. So here's the best line of play that I can foresee. Okay, turn 1, we play Black Knight. Great, 1/2. Turn 2, we play Zabu, because you're going to see shortly that the Ebony Blade is a 4-cost card. So giving discounts to our 4 costs, which also works with Ghost Rider. Okay, that's the setup here. Turn 3, we play Lady Sif. She's going to discard the Infinite, or maybe APOC or something high powered, but let's just go with Infinite. So then the Ebony Blade is spawned into our hand. It's going to cost only 3 because Zabu's out there, and it's going to have 20 power. Value insane. You don't even need all of these pieces. I'll get to that in a second, but this is a very ideal line of play, okay? And then turn 4, turn 5, you're doing whatever. Turn 6, you play the Blade as well as Ghost Rider, who's going to bring back the Infinite. That is a total amount of power on turn 6 of 43 spread across 2 locations. That's probably game winning. That's just straight up game winning amounts of power. So very good. That seems great. Why are you giving this only 3 stars, Drew? Just because the stars need to align. You need to draw Black Knight early enough that it doesn't mess up your play. If you draw it in the opening hand, that's great. You can throw it down because you're not going to get the Blade unless you discard a card while the Black Knight is in play. So you got to have the Black Knight out. Then we got to find one of our discard activators. And I think the only 2 that really work that target discard are Lady Sif and Blade. So we got to find one of those 2 cards to target discard what we actually want. Lady Sif being the best because then it's just going to be our high power card, and then we're pretty much off to the races. We're in a good spot after that. But if it's Blade, then we have to hope we draw something to the right, you know, that's good, that we actually want to discard, okay? So it's a bit finicky at that point. Then you have to figure out what you're going to do with the Blade. Now, there's a lot that you can do. You can actually discard it and then use it for hella later, right? Here's the Blade, by the way. So the Blade is a 4-cost, 0 power. It can get countered by Shadow King. You got to watch out for that. And probably Shang-Chi. That's another counter. But another card that could work is the Black Cat, right? She just discards herself. You don't have to do much. It's 9 power. And then you get a 4/9 Ebony Blade. And you can play that. That's pretty good. We were just talking about the Man Thing. If it gets up to 4/9 power, that's good value. And I like that a lot. But discard list, they want to use Modok on 5. And again, maybe you're doing the Hela thing, but I just don't know if this is going to end up being good enough to make the cut, or it's just going to be too inconsistent because you're trying to find that perfect line of play. Like if you get this on turn 6, you're not doing a whole lot. Even if you're doing the Hela line, the best line I can see is Invisible Woman, Black Knight, right? So that it's out there so that when you Modok, it's going to hit one of those things, put the blade in your hand, and even then you're not even discarding the blade. So I don't know, and then you play Hela, like it's just going to be clunky. I don't know if it's going to work in the Hela list. And then in standard discard, maybe not. There are some other value discard lists where you use like Dracula. Maybe you just keep it in the hand. You got Infinite in the hand, Dracula, Apoc, something like that. Boom, it just guarantees that you hit something big. Your Dracula gets bigger. I like that line of play as well. But overall, I'm just not too sure. Maybe there's somewhere where it's like Zabu, Ebony, the Black Knight, and Ghost Rider and Dracula with Infinite and Apoc, and that list comes together and it's just a high power, good generation deck. I could see that being a possibility. That's why I'm giving it 3 stars, and I'm starting to buy in, but I'm not entirely sold just yet. Let's get to the next card. All right, next up is a fan favorite, NICO MINORU. So I've seen a lot of people pretty hyped up about this card. A 1/2 on reveal after you play your next card, cast a spell. The spell changes each turn. Right above me here is all the spells that she can generate. There's 7 of them. Now, the problem that I have, despite all the hype, despite her looking amazing, incredible variants that I'm going to show you in a second, and very cool effect, I don't know if she's going to be very good. It's giving me a lot of Snowguard vibes. Snowguard wasn't so great, not because the auras that she would turn into, the hawk and the bear, weren't strong. They had good effects for the most part, maybe not the bear, but you get the idea. It's the fact that it wasn't consistent. It was changing each turn, hawk to bear, and you maybe wanted one on a specific turn, but it wasn't there available for you. So that's the problem I have with NICO, is maybe there's going to be one of these spells you just want and it doesn't pop up. There's only 6 turns in Snap, maybe 7 with Limbo, and there's 7 spells. That means there's a good chance that the one that you want doesn't show up. Or maybe, and that's provided that you have NICO in the hand. So I don't like the variance. It's a little bit inconsistent for me, but some of the synergies that I see is Deadpool. I think that's the number one, because a lot of these benefit for Deadpool, right? Destroying and getting 2 cards, doubling the card's power, getting a copy to your hand, giving it +2 power, even becoming a demon isn't so bad if we haven't, built up our Deadpool. Wasp is another good one, because then you can straight up do NICO with a spell to Wasp on turn 1. Turn Wasp into a demon, and that's pretty good. Maybe destroy it and get 2 cards. That's pretty good. The moving one isn't so great. I don't see this working in a move list, so that's probably one of the weaker spells. And then replacing the card's location, that's actually pretty good. That's a very good effect, but probably not synergistic enough to warrant putting NICO in your deck list. And that's where I struggle. It's just looking at your deck of 12 cards and saying, yeah, I need NICO in here. You're probably not. She's probably the easiest one to cut. So that's where I'm a bit worried. You could do maybe some Wong shenanigans where you get 2 spells or something, Absorbing Man to copy and then have another spell ready to go. That could be something. But overall, I'm giving her 2 stars for her inconsistency. But the flavor and the variants, let's look at those real quick. These variants are fire. I love the Nightforge theme. So I really enjoy that one. Unfortunately, I think all the Nightforge for all of these cards coming out are going to be in the Spotlight caches if you buy the cards. So they're like the most difficult variant to acquire. But then we got Midnight Suns coming, and they got 21 variants of those. Let's go. It's so sick. So yeah, I like a lot of what I'm seeing here. But again, it's just NICO. I just don't know. I want to pick up this card, but she's Series 5 as well. It's Snowguard vibes like crazy, and I'm a little bit worried about it. I think a lot of people are going to pick her up and end up not using her a whole lot. So just look out for that, okay? But anyways, we got one more card cover, and yes, it is the most broken one this month. Werewolf by Night. This is my pick for best card of the month. I just think this is insane, okay? So kind of like Elsa, what I like about this card, before I even get into it, is that it doesn't have an on reveal or an ongoing or anything that's really counterable in Marvel Snap. It has some counters, don't get me wrong, but it has less, and I like that about this card. Okay, so what is it? A 3/3. After you play an on-reveal card at another location, move there and gain +2 power. So easy to activate, everybody. Like, on-reveals are everywhere. You don't need to run this in a move deck. You can do it with Kraven. That's great. Miles Morales, another great card. Spider-Man's pretty good. Play on-reveal. He's going to move off. Werewolf will move there. So it's a 1-for-1 exchange. The cards move. Spider-Man's going to pull something over there. Werewolf by Night's going to get +2 power. He's a 3-5. We get this guy easy to a 3-7, 3-9, 3-11. It's just going to scale like crazy, and I love it. It's so much power to be had. There is a deck that's surfacing right now, right? It's around in the space that has Silk, it has Spider-Man, Miles Morales, a lot of these movement cards. The idea is just to tempo out your opponent with good high power plays. Werewolf by Night, easy 3-7. I can see that. You can do that straight up on turn 6. Maybe there's even a world where you play Sarah, and then you play a bunch of honor reveals, including maybe Silver Surfer. And then your werewolf is just jumping around, getting +2 power a whole bunch. Now, I mentioned earlier about some counters being present, but here's another layer that I like about this card. A lot of the counters that could hurt Werewolf by Night are Shadow King or Shang-Chi, if it gets to that point, right? Those would be really nasty. It would hurt this card a lot in all the setup that you've done. The problem being, how do they know where to hit Werewolf by Night? Like, unless they have priority, then they'll hit it, right? But on turn 6, if they're trying to Shang-Chi your Werewolf by Night, they're trying to Shadow King your werewolf, you can just move it with an honor reveal that's going to benefit your board and provide more power to your board. So that just seems insane to me. I mean, the bad case scenarios is if there's locations that restrict you out, like Sanctum Sanctorum, things like this, where you can't play honor reveals because then you can't freely move your werewolf. And if you can only move to one location back and forth, it's not going to be so great because you're very going to quickly fill up your board state, your location. And what if your opponent's playing junk decks, right? It's funny because a lot of these cards, Elsa and Werewolf, both get countered by junk decks. So the goblins going out, the debris, maybe that man thing, maybe he's going to shine because he counters these other cards. Because if Werewolf gets clogged, he jumps to a location, he fills it, that's not going to be so great. You probably don't want that because you want to move it more and more and more. But at the same side, it's not too bad because you can move it off with another on reveal. But if you do that on turn 6, you can't play another card there, right? You're going to play the cards, it's on reveal, it's going to move the werewolf, and then you don't have an opportunity to play a final card at the location. So that's where it's going to get a bit dicey. But man, the power output here, the potential to fit in those top meta decks right now, not many counters that can actually affect this or target this for that matter. You're probably going to have priority because of the deck that this is run. It just has a lot of high power naturally. So I could just see this working so nicely. Even with like Dr. Doom, you play Dr. Doom on turn 6. He's going to jump to the Dr. Doom location, give a little more power there, spread out those Doom bots elsewhere. It just seems good. It just seems really good. And then maybe you don't want him to move, you want him to stay tight. Well, you just play an honor reveal at the 4th quadrant of a location so that there is no possibility for your werewolf to move and he stays put. He won't get the power, but at least you can kind of control of where he's going to be bouncing around. So yeah, I think this card is crazy, has awesome variants. I love this classic style, but this is my pick for the month for the best card. And lastly, we have some locations that are going to be dropping. We got the Abbey, first to put exactly 2 cards here, draws a card. So another little mini race, but it's only to fill it halfway. So that's pretty cool. And then the bonus isn't all that game breaking. So I like that location a lot. I think that's a good one to add to the game. Hotel Inferno, on the other hand, I don't know about this. This is like Lamentus 1, or it's like Yondu, but there's not Yondus on the board. Anyways, every time you play a card there, it's going to destroy the top card of your opponent's deck, thinning their deck out, but not really. You're destroying, getting rid of all of their options that they want to draw through further. Like if this is a turn 1 and your opponent's got Kitty Pryde, you're retreating. That just hurts way too much. Or they're running Jeff and Nightcrawler movement things to move off, keep playing cards there. Yeah, this one might get a little toxic, and it also benefits the destroy package. Like your null's going to get all that power, etc. So watch out for that one. That might frustrate some players. But anyways, there you go. Those are my star ratings. Let me know in the comments what you agree with, what you disagree with, what you're hyped for, what you're picking up. I want to know. Guys, stay tuned. Stay tuned. We got some exciting stuff around the corner, especially on the official Marvel Snap channel. Definitely stay tuned there and check it out, okay? But thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys next time.